Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer, and this one is half Swedish on the home side, half Norwegian on the away side. Oddly enough, the Swedish brewery have never featured on the channel before, so it'll be nice to introduce you guys to them, whereas the Norwegian brewery has featured a couple of times before, mainly in collaboration reviews actually, but I've had some very good beers involving these guys in the past, so I'm quite curious to see how this one turns out today. So for the home side of things, for the Swedish side, we are going to go to Karlstad in Värmland, which is home to a number of good breweries these days, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from Good Guys Brew. So this one is called Don't Hurt My Peelings. It comes in at 6% ABV, and this one is an IPA double dry hopped, and it's brewed in collaboration with Cervisiam, who are a gypsy brewery, or cuckoo breweries they like to call themselves, from Oslo up in Norway. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out. This beer was released as part of the Local Småskaligt assortment for November of 2020 through Systembolaget here, and yeah, I'm just curious to see how it turns out. This one caught my eye because I thought Good Guys was a brewery that I hadn't heard of, which turned out to be true, and I just liked the way that this beer sounded, to be honest with you, so I went for it and got it. But yeah, nice to have another Norwegian-Swedish collaboration in this one, and hopefully it turns out to be a good beer. And as I say, nice to introduce Good Guys on the channel for the first time, and it's always cool to have some new things from Cervisiam as well. So let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Good Guys Brew. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's also a link down there to my Cervisiam reviews, which will of course be added to again in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for, and another one for all the Norwegian beers. The Norwegian one is added to when I can, the Swedish one is added to pretty much all the time. But as always, please do feel free to get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Good Guys Brew first off then, since these guys are the home brewery. On to my brewery notes. So Good Guys Brew, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Karlstad up in Värmland, and the company was started back in 2013 before finally releasing their first beers in 2016. So the main founder was Daniel Hag Viksel, who was employed as a brewer at Värmlands Bryghus in Kristinehamn, and this was where the first Good Guys beers were produced. Later on in 2017 they invested in their own brewery in Karlstad, and they started off with a 1500 litre brew kit, and then they opened up a brewery pub in November of that year as well. But over the next few years they continued to expand the capacity of the brewery, and then in January 2020 new owners Kenny Nord, Mark Pullman and Daniel Iverson came into the company, and they took a majority share. So they'd planned to take the brewery up to a capacity of about 1 million litres, and then later it was announced that Daniel Viksel was going to step aside, with the existing brewer João Alberto, if I'm pronouncing his name right, Brazilian guy. He was going to remain and take over the brewing duties. So yeah, Daniel Viksel was going to leave the company completely. So, Mark Pullman is now the company CEO, and he also works in the brewery with João. Kenny Nord is apparently the main man behind the Ölhallen company, which is looking to create a chain of like craft beer pubs across Sweden, but they apparently are all going to operate independently. They apparently do have one earmarked for down here in Skåne, in Malmö, so it'll be interesting to see when that one opens up. So yeah, I need to go and check that out when eventually that one does appear. But as of November 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 70 different kinds of beer, and there are a few of them available through Systembolaget on the nationwide order at the moment. But as I say, this is the very first time I had encountered Good Guys Brew. I hadn't heard of them before I saw them in the Local Småskaligt. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see more of these guys if they are expanding their capacity up to 1 million litres at the moment. Apparently the main idea when the new owners came in was that they were going to use a lot of the new capacity to basically feed the Ölhallen pubs actually. So yeah, that should be pretty interesting to see. But yeah, interesting to read about another new brewery, of course. I get all this data from beernews.se, so yeah, if you're interested in keeping up to date with all the latest goings on in the Swedish beer scene, then I would recommend that you check out that website. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Good Guys Brew for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. Brain's not working, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd, and Beer Advocate pages to look at all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, that's the Swedish side of things. Let's go on to the away side then, the Norwegian side of the breweries. So yeah, Cervisiam. As I've told you before, Cervisiam are based in Oslo, and this company was founded back in April of 2015 by three friends. This is Pushkin Hammer, Martin Borander, and Shea Martinsen. But they started homebrewing together in Martin's basement in early 2013, and they called their early creations Brewmans, and they went on to win a few competitions, and this led to one of their beers being brewed on the larger scale at the Crowbar Brewery. I think that was called the Citrus Warehouse. But soon they started doing some contract brewing, and this is how they've kind of progressed the company. They've been brewing their beers at various different places across Scandinavia, such as Sogards, Dugis, down here in Sweden, Alsman and Ego. I'm not sure where Ego is actually, but yeah, they brew their beers at a variety of different places. But today they are a 7-person team, and in 2017 they opened their first bar, which was called Gjohederit, or the Cuckoo's Nest, which is in the Grunland neighbourhood of downtown Oslo, and they're brewing their beers as a gypsy brewery, as I say, a cuckoo brewery as they call it, hence the name of their pub, the Cuckoo's Nest. But as of November 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 50 different kinds of beer, and probably the ones, you know, most of them tend to be like, you know, big IPAs or some of the really big, you know, the big pastry stouts and stuff like that, you know, the really popular beer styles. So maybe eventually these guys will open their own brewery at some stage. We'll just need to see, but at the moment they are still doing the whole cuckoo or gypsy brewing sort of thing. So yeah, I'll need to see about getting another couple of Cervisiam beers to review for you in the future. It has been a little while actually since I've had something from these guys, but yeah, it should be quite interesting to try a few more beers from these guys going forward. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Cervisiam for the moment. A really nice brewery, and I do hope that I can get back up to Norway at some point and pick up a few more of their beers. But yeah, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate page to learn more about all of those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is pretty interesting. There you can see the Good Guys Brew artwork on there. There you can see the Cervisiam text on the back, which is quite nice. As I said, Don't Hurt My Peelings. But yeah, I really like how this one goes together. So yeah, nicely presented, very kind of simple to be honest with you, and yeah, it looks very good. As I said, a 6% double dry hopped IPA. This one apparently it's brewed with Citra, Simcoe and Nelson Sauvin, so we know these hops quite well. Citra, lots of nice juicy mangoes and complexities. Simcoe is a really nice kind of passion fruity hop, whereas Nelson Sauvin we know for its big kind of white, green, grapey characteristics, and then a little bit of orange peel always goes down quite nicely. But yeah, 6% IPA this one. Let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. So let's get it out and into the glass. So it's always nice to introduce you guys to Swedish breweries that I've not tried before. As I've said in other videos, I think there is around 700 breweries in Sweden these days, which is impressive for a country of about just over 10 million people. And if you think of that, yeah, the Netherlands, the Dutch guys were telling me that the Netherlands has about 700 breweries, and I think the Netherlands about 17 million people these days. I forget, but yeah, I mean the number of Swedish breweries is pretty damn impressive relative to the population. It must be one of the most brewery dense countries around, come to think of it. But then again, yeah, Estonia, I don't know how many Estonia would have. They're only 1 million people, and they've probably got about 80 or 90. So yeah, maybe that statistic beats Sweden, I don't know. But yeah, always interesting to think about. But as you can see, and as you would expect from an IPA these days, this one's poured a lovely kind of hazy colour. I'd describe that as a very bright yellow, almost just kind of similar to mango juice or something, but certainly it's not the haziest or the soupiest and gloopiest of IPAs that you're going to come across. But you can see this beer poured with a nice half to 2/3 finger of a bumpy white head. That's going to fade away to just be a very, very thin foamy layer, and you can see there's a nice little bit of just lacing setting up the side of the glass on this one. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but I mean overall it does look pretty nice, I would say. So yeah, take a little bit of time, just look at it, but nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Yeah, it actually smells, I've got a feeling that this one's going to be like a really drinkable beer just from the way the aroma comes across. It's got a really nice kind of just wetness to it and sort of softness in the aroma. First thing that's going to come out of this beer with you is a really soft white bready character. I mean, it does smell just like a fluffy, fresh white bread. That's the first thing I'm getting out of this one. And you can feel that big citrusy peel coming out of it as well. It does smell very nice and welcome in this one. If I was blind smelling this, I wouldn't have guessed that it was double dry hops, just because of how bready and sort of smooth it comes across as being. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting point to make about this beer for sure. Yeah, the aroma that comes out of this, I think, is very, very nice actually. So yeah, definitely take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. Does come across very, very nicely. So yeah, lovely soft white bready notes coming out of this one. You can smell a little bit of bitiness of some wheat in there. I don't get so much in the way of oaty creaminess out of this one. I think this beer is more kind of white bready and wheaty. As I say, at the back of the nose you get a lot of wheaty character out of this one. You do get a little bit of, how would you say, you do get a little bit of, yeah, you do get a little bit of a kind of biscuity note in the middle of the nose as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I definitely find that quite an interesting thing to look at. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a kind of bitey, you know, definitely a little bit of a kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive sort of thing in there. But you can really smell the orange peel, I think, becomes a little bit more pungent in this beer the more that you smell it. On the hoppy side of things, on the green side of things, there's a wee tiny bit of earthiness there, but I find this beer really kind of big and floral. It's actually very aromatic, and at the front of the nose it comes across as really quite zesty. The grassy characters out of this beer come across as being really zesty, but that might well just be the orange peel in this one, so just be aware of that. But on the fruity side of things, as I say, that orange peel plays a big role. But if you take the aroma in a bit more deeply, you can smell the kind of mangoes of the citra coming out of there. You can smell a little bit more of the the kind of passion fruit as well from the Simcoe in this one. It's kind of interesting. At the very front of the nose, I mean, you do get a little bit of the Nelson Sauvin, the sort of white green grapey things. They come across as a little bit more oily, but I think the kind of the orange peel that's in this beer, that really gives the beer a very kind of it really gives the beer a very zesty edge, and that dominates the fruity side of it. But you can smell, as I say, the mangoes from the citra, the passion fruit from the Simcoe, and the more oily sort of gooseberry, white green grapey sort of thing from the Nelson Sauvin underneath us. But yeah, the orange peel, I think, really dominates the fruity side of the aroma. And like I say, this beer has a big floral aromaticity to it. How much of that is coming from the hops? Because I mean, all of the hops that are in this are fairly high alpha acid. You know, Citra is about 14, Simcoe I think is usually about 12, and then Nelson Sauvin's a bit of a beast, that can be up to about 16, but probably with a beer like this, I would think those hops are late addition hops. You know, they tend to add these kind of ones within the last half hour of the boil, which contributes more to flavour and aroma and things like that. So yeah, I do think the orange peel starts to dominate the aroma there, but I'm curious to see how it balances out in the flavour actually. And the other thing you have to remember about this beer is that it is double dry hop, so you might get a slightly kind of dustier mouthfeel off it. You know, I've always found that with double dry hop beers, you have to let them mellow out a little bit. But we are reviewing this one towards the end of November, remember, so yeah, it should be in pretty good condition just now. I've always felt with the more New England hazy sort of IPAs like this, you need to let them settle in the can for like 10 days, 2 weeks just to get the best out of them. But that's just my opinion. Some people might disagree with that. But yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer then. I think this one's quite interesting, but we're going to have a taste of this beer now. So this one is called Don't Hurt My Peelings, a double dry hopped IPA coming in at 6% ABV, brewed by Good Guys Brew up in Karlstad in Värmland, in collaboration with Cervisiam Cervisiam, a cuckoo gypsy brewery, however you want to call them, from Oslo in Norway. Let's get stuck into this one. Slanja Skål. Yeah, that is actually pretty nice, I have to say. Quite impressed with that one, so thumbs up to Cervisiam and to Good Guys Brew for this. It's a very light and very drinkable beer, this. I mean, I was kind of right in the aroma. You could kind of smell that it was going to be a very light, drinkable beer. Yeah, it comes across as very crisp. That's my first impression of it as well. Yeah, for me, this one, I like this. I do like this beer. It's a little bit, as I say, it's a little bit different compared to some of the other IPAs and stuff I've had in recent times, because it really takes the drinkability, sessionability approach. It feels very, very clean, this one. It really feels very, very clean and very, very drinkable. It doesn't do anything sort of surprising with the style, if you like, but it is really well crafted, you know, and that's what you want these days. There's so many IPAs, hazy IPAs on the market. That's all you can really ask for, is that the thing is well crafted, and this one certainly is. So, you know, if this is what the other Good Guys Brew beers are like, then I will need to check some of them out, because I think this is pretty nice, actually. And you know, Karlstad is home to a good few breweries these days. I mean, 10 Hands are a new one that are getting a lot of hype from there. There's Emye's, who I reviewed recently, their triple, that was really nice. There are one or two others, actually. There is another quite well known brewery from Karlstad that I'm forgetting the name of. There's, as I say, there's about 700 breweries in Sweden these days. It's difficult to keep up. But yeah, Karlstad seems to have a good beer. It seems to be a good beer destination these days. So yeah. But yeah, this one is really pretty damn solid, actually. So thumbs up to Good Guys Brew on this one. Yeah, it sounds really nice. I was just looking at this one because it says it's just got wheat in it, so I was right. That'll be why you don't get so much in the way of oat. You don't really get any oaty characters out of this one. It's quite satisfying to realise I can pick that up when there's not oats in these beers and wheat and stuff like that. The one thing I think that I'm not so accurate at the moment is obviously when we play Guess the Hop, sometimes I'm not going to get that right, but the other thing, I guess, would be the IBUs. My IBU counter on the palate's been a little bit off in recent times, but that's not such a big thing. I need to train a little bit better with that, actually. But yeah, as I say, this is a really nice, just drinkable IPA in my mind. So let's focus on this flavour then. So as I was saying, straight away with this beer you're getting a nice kind of pale malty quality. That blankets the middle of your tongue. You can feel a little bit of the bitiness of the wheat throughout in that middle third of your palate, but you really start to feel the bitiness of the wheat as you go into the back third of your palate. The bitiness of the wheat really kind of, pardon me, intensifies. So yeah, just be aware of that with this beer, and you can feel the breadiness just thickens up a little bit. As you move further forward on the middle third of your tongue, it does sort of smoothen out a little bit. It does thicken up and then smoothen out on the top, but then in the middle third of your palate you might also detect just a few little kind of biscuity sort of notes in the very centre of your palate. But going by the colour of this beer, remember the thing that affects the colour of your beer is 1, the length of boil, 2, the types of malt. Going by the colour of this one, I would think there's not a sweetening malt in this one such as Cara Munich or Cara Pils or something like that. Just from the colour I would think that, because it is quite a bright yellow. Usually you'd have more of a tint of kind of orangey colour to them if there's something like that in there. But yeah, this one I think is a straight up kind of pale malt, sort of wheaty malt sort of thing that's in this one, and it does say it has wheat malt in it and a little, and you know, corn malt. So yeah, the wheaty notes in this one are quite big. So this is quite a wheaty leaning, bitey IPA for me. But in fairness to it, the breadiness really smoothens out the further you go into the aftertaste. I really, really like how this one, I really, really like how this one goes together. So it does get it gets a thumbs up from me in terms of its malt base. You'll know if you've watched the channel before, I do like to focus on the malt base a little bit. I think it's kind of underappreciated in a way in the yeast as well. But yeah, this one's got a really nice smooth malt base that builds up just a little bit of sweetness in the middle of the palate, as I say, builds up later on in some nice bitey wheaty characters. So yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, back corners of the palate you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one, but as you move further forward along the sides of your tongue you get a nice big kind of floral aromatic note. It's not quite as big as I was expecting it to be on the basis of the aroma, but it's still got a good little bit of presence there. Then round the front curve of the palate the beer is just a little bit lighter and grassy, and you get some nice oily, you do get a nice little bit of a kind of oily orange peel sort of thing out of this one as well. You do get that around the front edge of your tongue. But yeah, it definitely does get a little bit more oily around the kind of front edge of your tongue, and it comes across really quite nicely. So yeah, I really like how this. I really like how the side of this thing goes together. It does. I think that the sort of zestiness in this beer sort of intensifies a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, but at the same time it does get a little bit more oily too. So it's a really interesting dynamic that you've got going on in this beer around the front edge of your tongue. So yeah. So as I always say, on the front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just push their way out of the hops. If you go towards the back of that front third of your tongue, you'll get a wee bit of the stronger passion fruit and slightly grapefruity notes in there. That'll be the Citra that gives you that, and also a little bit of the Simcoe going forward. But then you get you do get a little bit of a juicier mango note coming off this one. Then as you reach the kind of front part of that front third of your tongue, you get the more oily. You get a little bit of a more kind of oily. How would you say? You do get a little bit of a more kind of oily. Kind of that Nelson Sauvignon, that gooseberry, that kind of white grapey sort of thing, and the Citra can contribute to that as well. Citra can give you some, gooseberry and sort of lemon limey notes as well. So I think Citra will be contributing a little bit to that oiliness. But then the orange peel you can feel kind of sitting on the very edge of the tongue, just kind of mixing in with the sort of grassy esters that you'll get out of these hops as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic to this beer, like I said. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy that. Actually, I like how this goes together. So, yeah, I really like how that goes together. It gets a big thumbs up from me, I have to say. This certainly makes me curious about some of the other beers that I've come across. As I say, overall, to me, this one, it is one of the more bitey and wheaty IPAs I've come across recently. The dry hopping's kind of mellowed out quite nicely at this point. I'm reviewing this beer for you on the 27th of November, so it will have been in the can at least, I'm assuming it would have been maybe 5-6 weeks, so it's in very good condition at the moment, I would say. The dustiness, the dry hoppings sort of mellowed out really nicely at this point in time. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together. As I say, it gets a thumbs up from me. It does make me curious about the other Good Guys beer, so I need to have a look and see what else they've got on offer. And I'm sure I need to try an IPA from Cervisiam as well. As I say, I'd like to try one of their own IPAs. They are a little bit difficult to get hold of, to be honest with you, here in Sweden. You don't see too many Cervisiam beers, so I'll keep an eye out the next time I head over to Copenhagen for some of their stuff. But yeah, that's I think all we really need to say about the flavour profile of this beer. It certainly comes across very nicely. We can talk about the mouthfeel. I would actually say this beer is bottom end of mid-bodied, top end of light-bodied. It really is that kind of clean and crisp. The carbonation does give you a level of crispness, but I'd say overall this is quite a wet feeling IPA, this one. Very, very light, very, very drinkable. In terms of the IBUs, what would we say about this? Yeah, in terms of IBUs, I don't find this beer too bitter at all. I think this is about a 25 IBU beer, to be honest with you. The as I say, the carbonation I think helps the beer become a little bit more oily, as I say, the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, about 25 IBUs. The malt base is quite smooth. There's a bit of bitiness to it, like I said, and then you've got some really nice juicy fruity characters coming off this one as well. But yeah, I do like how this beer I do like how it all goes together. So yeah, it gets a thumbs up from me. It makes me curious to try more Good Guys stuff, as I said, and I think I need to try a few more beers from Cervisiam as well. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one's been a really interesting experience actually. It's made me think a little bit, this one, because it's quite a different, the mouthfeel and the vibe of this beer is quite different to other IPAs I've had in recent times. And after 2,500 reviews, that's what you want. You want beers that are going to show you something a little bit different, and this one has. So it has my respect for that. So yeah, this one was the Don't Hurt My Peelings, a double dry hopped IPA at 6% ABV from Good Guys Brew in Karlstad in Värmland here in Sweden, in collaboration with Cervisiam, a gypsy cuckoo brewery from Oslo up in Norway. It's been cool to review this one for you. Nice to feature Good Guys on the channel for the first time, and nice to have Cervisiam back once again. So let's leave it there. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Good Guys and from Cervisiam. We will return to both of them at some point in the near future, I have no doubt about that. And as always, please do get in touch and all of these kind of things. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slanju, school, cheers. Make sure you check out Good Guys and Cervisiam when you get the chance.